What if I told you that the most influential people in the world rarely argue, rarely raise their voices, and almost never force anyone to agree with them? Sounds strange, right? Yet somehow, they have an incredible ability to make people listen, trust them, and even change their minds. So what's their secret? That's exactly what you'll discover in today's video. But before we begin, if you're new here and you enjoy book summaries that actually help you improve your life, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Every week, we break down the world's most powerful books into practical lessons you can start using immediately. Now, let's dive in. Welcome back, everyone. In part 1, we explored how to build genuine friendships. But today, we're taking things to the next level. Today is all about influence. Not manipulation, not tricks, not controlling people. We're talking about the kind of influence that earns respect, builds trust, and inspires people to follow your ideas willingly. And before we jump into the principles, I want to answer one of the most common questions I saw in the comments. If I'm always nice and smiling, won't people just take advantage of me? That's a fair question, because many people confuse kindness with weakness. But here's the truth. There's a huge difference between assertiveness and aggression. Aggressive people try to control others. Assertive people earn respect without demanding it. Real influence isn't about winning arguments. It isn't about proving you're right. And it certainly isn't about forcing people to obey you. Real influence is helping people arrive at your point of view without making them feel pushed. That's where emotional intelligence becomes your greatest advantage. Being a true people person doesn't mean becoming everyone's servant. It means staying calm under pressure, communicating with confidence, protecting your self-respect, while still treating others with kindness and empathy. Master that balance, and you'll notice something amazing. People naturally become more open to your ideas. So now that we've built the right foundation, let's discover the first principle that can instantly make people more willing to listen to you. Have you ever noticed how people reject brilliant ideas simply because those ideas didn't come from them? It happens every single day. At work, at home, even in friendships. And once you understand why, you'll unlock one of the most powerful persuasion techniques in this entire book. This is Principle 7. Let the other person feel that the idea is theirs. At first, this sounds almost impossible. But don't underestimate it. Because this one simple shift can completely transform the way people respond to you. Here's why. People naturally protect their ego. We all love defending ideas we believe we created ourselves. But the moment someone tells us, "You should do this," our brain immediately starts looking for reasons to resist. Not because the idea is bad, but because nobody enjoys feeling controlled. So instead of saying, "Do this," try asking, "What do you think we should do? What would be your approach? How do you think we can solve this?" It's such a small change, but it completely transforms the conversation. Instead of feeling ordered around, people feel respected. Instead of becoming defensive, they begin thinking. And once someone believes an idea belongs to them, they'll often work much harder to make it succeed than if you had convinced them directly. That's the hidden power of what we can call the ownership effect. You're not manipulating people. You're giving them ownership. And ownership creates commitment. Think about the best teachers, the best managers, or the best parents you've ever met. Most of them didn't force people to change. They asked the right questions. They guided people until they discovered the answer themselves. And that's exactly why their influence lasted. But helping people embrace your ideas is only one piece of the puzzle. Before people can truly accept your point of view, they first need to feel understood. And that's exactly where the next two principles come in. Because every meaningful conversation begins with understanding, not persuasion. So let's move on. You're about to discover why empathy is one of the greatest superpowers any communicator can develop. And if you're finding these lessons valuable so far, take a second to like this video. It tells YouTube that this content is worth sharing with more people, and it helps us continue creating practical book summaries like this every week. Now, let's continue. Have you ever been so frustrated that you didn't want advice? You didn't want solutions. You simply wanted someone to understand how you felt. If your answer is yes, then you've already experienced one of the biggest truths about human nature. And here's the surprising part. Everyone else feels exactly the same way. This is where most people fail. They're so focused on proving they're right that they forget to understand the person standing right in front of them. And that's why Dale Carnegie introduces Principle 8. Try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view. Notice the word honestly. Not pretending, not manipulating, not agreeing with everything they say. Simply making a genuine effort to understand how they see the situation. Ask yourself, if I had their experiences, their fears, their goals, and their struggles, how would I see this? The moment you begin asking that question, something incredible happens. Arguments become conversations. Conversations become cooperation. And people stop seeing you as an opponent and start seeing you as someone who understands them. Which brings us perfectly to Principle 9. Be sympathetic with the other person's ideas and desires. Notice something important. Carnegie doesn't say you must agree with everyone. He simply says, acknowledge their feelings. Sometimes, one simple sentence like, I completely understand why you'd feel that way, can accomplish more than 10 minutes of trying to prove you're right. Why? Because empathy is a bridge. The moment people feel understood, their emotional walls begin to fall. Their defenses disappear. And that's when real communication finally begins. You don't change people by defeating them. You change people by making them feel heard. Because once someone truly feels heard, they become far more willing to hear you. Now that we've learned how to open people's minds, the next question becomes, how do you inspire them to actually take action? Because understanding someone is powerful, but inspiring them to move, that's where real influence begins. Let's discover the final 3 principles. Have you ever wondered why some speeches change people's lives while others are forgotten before the day even ends? It's not because the ideas are smarter. It's because of how those ideas are presented. Let's begin with Principle 10. Appeal to the nobler motives. Deep down, people want to believe they're honest, responsible, generous, reliable. They want to see themselves as good people. So instead of motivating people through fear, pressure, or guilt, appeal to the best version of who they believe they can become. When your message connects with someone's values, it no longer feels like a request. It feels like an opportunity to live up to who they want to be. And that's a far stronger motivation than pressure could ever create. Now let's move to Principle 11. Dramatize your ideas. Facts inform. Stories persuade. You can tell someone a problem is serious, or You can paint a picture they can actually imagine. Which one do you think they'll remember? Exactly. People rarely remember statistics, but they never forget a powerful story, a vivid example, or a memorable metaphor. That's why the greatest leaders, teachers, and speakers don't simply share information. They create experiences. Because when people can see an idea in their minds, they begin to feel it in their hearts. And emotions are what people remember most. Finally, we arrive at Principle 12. Throw down a challenge. There's something deeply human about wanting to prove ourselves. Most people don't wake up excited to complete another task, but they do get excited by a meaningful challenge. Instead of saying, "Please finish this," try saying, "I know you're capable of something even better." Or, "Let's see if we can beat last week's result." Immediately, the task becomes a mission. People aren't just working anymore. They're growing. They're improving. They're proving something to themselves. And that's the difference between pushing someone and inspiring them. Because when you awaken a person's desire to grow, you no longer have to force action. They'll push themselves. And those are the people who achieve extraordinary things. So far, we've discovered how to guide people without forcing them, how to understand them before trying to persuade them, and how to inspire them to take action willingly. But what happens when you're the one leading a team, a business, or even a family? How do you apply all these principles as a leader? That's exactly what we're about to explore next. And trust me, this final section might be the most valuable lesson in the entire book. If you're still watching, you're clearly serious about improving your communication and leadership skills. So make sure you're subscribed, because the next book summaries will build on these ideas and help you become more confident, more persuasive, and a better leader in every area of your life. Now, let's move into the final section.
Have you ever wondered why some leaders inspire loyalty, while others are obeyed only because people have no choice? The difference isn't power. It isn't authority. And it certainly isn't having the loudest voice in the room. The real difference is how they lead. So whether you're a manager, a team leader, a business owner, a teacher, or even a parent, this final section is for you. Because here's the question every great leader eventually has to answer. How do you lead people without making them resent you? Dale Carnegie's answer is surprisingly simple. Leadership is influence, not authority. Anyone can give orders. Anyone can point out mistakes. Anyone can use fear to get short-term results. But only a true leader can inspire people to follow willingly. The greatest leaders don't build a culture of fear. They build a culture of trust. Instead of saying, "Because I said so," they ask, "How can we solve this together?" That small shift changes everything. People stop feeling controlled and start feeling respected. They stop working because they have to and start contributing because they want to. That's the secret of lasting leadership. When respect replaces fear, trust replaces doubt, and motivation replaces resistance. People don't give their best because someone demands it. They give their best because they feel valued. And that's the kind of leader people never forget. Now let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Throughout this book, Dale Carnegie never teaches us how to control people. He teaches us how to understand them. He reminds us that every person wants the same basic things: to feel respected, to feel appreciated, to feel understood. And when you give people those things, something remarkable happens. Relationships become stronger. Conversations become easier. Conflicts become smaller. And influence becomes natural. Because true influence is never about pressure. It's about connection. The more you help people feel important, the more they'll value your presence. The more you listen, the more they'll trust your words. And the more genuine your intentions are, the greater your influence will become. That's the lesson that ties this entire book together. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final challenge. Don't let this become just another video you watched, felt motivated by, and forgot a few hours later. Because information alone doesn't change lives. Action does. Knowledge is only potential power. Its real value appears only when you apply it. So here's your challenge. Create your own leadership guide. Write down the principles that resonated with you the most. Then tomorrow, don't try to apply all of them at once. Just choose one. Maybe it's asking instead of telling. Maybe it's listening before speaking. Maybe it's making someone feel genuinely appreciated. Or maybe it's helping someone believe an idea was their own. Whatever you choose, practice it in a real conversation. Watch how people respond. Notice how the atmosphere changes. Notice how resistance turns into cooperation. Because that's the moment these principles stop being words on a page and start becoming part of who you are. Always remember this. The people with the greatest influence aren't the people who know the most. They're the people who consistently apply what they know. Small improvements, repeated every single day, create extraordinary results over time. So don't aim to become perfect overnight. Simply become a little better with every conversation. Because one respectful conversation can change a relationship. One act of empathy can change someone's day. And one leadership habit can change your entire future. If you enjoyed this summary and learned something valuable today, please take a second to support the channel by liking this video. And if you want more practical lessons from the world's greatest books on communication, psychology, productivity, and success, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss the next video. I'd also love to hear from you. Which principle from today's video are you going to apply first? Let me know in the comments. I read as many of your comments as I can, and your ideas might even inspire future videos. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and remember, the way you treat people today shapes the opportunities you'll receive tomorrow. I'll see you in the next video.